I feel like there's ever been another player quite like you.
No.
James Harden in the clutch. He's unguardable.
He's a machine. He just scores.
Don't reach. Oh! 60 points for James Harden.
It doesn't matter what scheme or defense you run. I'm going to get to my spot and get my shot offs. Let's get it.
Good day. Welcome back to First Take, coming to you live from the Seaport District at Pier 17, brought to you by Chase. A look at the Brooklyn Bridge. Maybe James Harden will be seeing that soon. All right, welcome back. Look who's here. Perk with us. Stephen A., I'm going to start with you on this one. If the Nets do get Harden, do they need to win the title this season having this type of talent?
Damn right, without question. And I'm going to tell you why, because the pressure is going to be immense. First of all, if you're KD, obviously everybody's looking at you, comparing you to LeBron and stuff like that. LeBron goes and he assembles a big three. Then ultimately you one-upped him and went to Golden State and gave the ultimate big three. LeBron sits up there. AD is now in LA. So you go to Brooklyn, you got Kyrie, and then you get James Harden. So the pressure will be immense on him. There's Kyrie because of all the things that Max has articulated throughout the years. And to a lesser degree, Kendrick Perkins. When you talk about the lack of leadership that Kyrie Irving may have shown from time to time, he elected to leave Cleveland to go to Boston. The situation in Boston didn't work out. He goes to Brooklyn. He only plays 20 games. Health was an issue and all of that stuff. Plus, he made some headlines. That's an issue. And then you've got James Harden. Remember, James Harden didn't want Dwight Howard in Houston. Ultimately, he didn't want Chris Paul in Houston. And then obviously, even though, again, and Kendrick Perkins knows this far better than me because he has those relationships with these guys, in particular Russell Westbrook. But Russell Westbrook made sure to reiterate to me, listen, his relationship with James Harden is big time. They're brothers and they're going to always be brothers. We did not talk about basketball. Just a relationship articulated over social media first, by the way. His relationship with James Harden, they are brothers and they are tight, but that doesn't mean they want to play together. So as a result of that, Westbrook is planning on moving on. As a result of him moving on, James Harden is moving on. And so there's going to be some pressure to bear because with all of this money that Harden and KD and Kyrie are getting paid, along with the expectations, let's bring in the last element. You in Brooklyn, New York. You ain't in Utah. You ain't in Denver. You're in the Mecca, the media capital of the world. Now, obviously, the Knicks are in New York City, Madison Square Garden, but we should all be allergic to mentioning championship contention and the New York Knicks in the same breath, at least at this moment in time, even though I got faith in my man Leon Rose and Worldwide West. But the bottom line is, it's blasphemous and sacrilegious to talk championships and the Knicks. But Brooklyn ain't far away. It's less than 10 miles. It's less than 10 miles away. It's still a part of Brooklyn. It's one of the 5 boroughs. And there is going to be immense pressure. Immense. If the three of them collaborate, nobody gonna give a damn. KP might be right about that starting 5 in Milwaukee. We might see Philly do some things. We know LeBron is in LA and whatever. But if those three assemble, no one is going to be interested in any excuses as to why they did not win. So if the three of them assemble, guys, you damn right they need to win the chip because the world will be watching.
Well, first of all, Brooklyn is even thirstier for a championship, and I think is a bigger deal than a team winning it in Manhattan, in the sense that Brooklyn hasn't had a championship in 65 years since the Dodgers left Brooklyn in 57, but they won in 55 to go to LA.
It feels like that with the Knicks. So, go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. It's been almost 48 years for the Knicks. But Brooklyn is, the Nets are the team in New York. The Knicks don't even exist compared to the Nets right now. And let me say this. There is immense pressure for them to win. You're right, Stephen A. While they're together, I'm here saying it doesn't need to be in the first year. For example, if Harden goes to Brooklyn and they lose in the finals in a tough series to the Lakers or a team like that, it's all right, but they have to win while they're together. Even this year's Lakers team, I didn't pick them because it's hard to just throw a team together with guys who haven't played together, get all the complementary pieces right, get it all right to go all the way. We saw that with LeBron in his return to Cleveland, went to a Game 6. Of course, they had injuries on that team, but that's part of it. KD's coming off of a catastrophic injury. And we saw it again Or we saw it before that when LeBron showed up in Miami with the big three. You know, it takes sometimes a year to get it right with guys playing together. So I would say while there's enormous pressure for them to win while they're together, because KD, if he's most of himself even, is an MVP caliber player, so is Harden. And Kyrie may not be an MVP, but he's more than just an all-star. He's an all-star plus. You have 2 MVP caliber players and an all-star and then some. You're supposed to win a championship together. I don't think it has to be in the first year. And I wouldn't say that it's the kind of pressure, for example, when KD went to Golden State. It's like there was more downside. Like, guys, you have to win it. If you don't win a championship, that's sorry. I don't think people will be looking at this team like that's sorry if you don't win a chip. You got to get out of the East.
Max, please. Max, please. I don't want to hear that. If those 3 guys come together and James Harden come to the Brooklyn Nets, they have to win the championship. Matter of fact, without James Harden, in my opinion, it's championship or bust
this year?
KD comes back healthy. All right? Yeah, this year. So Stephen A. Smith spoke the gospel, and I have nothing to back that up. Everything he said was absolutely correct. But I want to address if James Harden is coming to Brooklyn. If was a fifth, we'll all be drunk. You know, my grandma used to tell me that. Right, Max? But listen, what I'm telling you is down here in H-Town, the Rockets are not willing to give up their drop-top Rolls Royce and trade it in for a Camry. They want something else. If they're going to trade in their Rolls Royce, they want back a Ferrari. They are not about to trade James Harden, the MVP candidate every year, the leading scorer in the NBA, for a guy for role players or future guys with a bright future. No, they want something back in return at the MVP caliber. Listen, if the Rockets trade James Harden and don't get back a star or an MVP type guy, it's suicidal to their organization, and it's going to set them back 5 to 7 years.
Hold on,
so
when I brought this point up the other day, you were all over me when I said that Dr. Buss told Kobe Bryant, you're a 5-carat diamond. I'm not trading you for 5 1-carat. You were sitting here going, that's not the same, blah, blah, blah. Now you come back the following week, it's the same all of a sudden.
First of all, Max, you're never going to put James Harden and Kobe Bryant in the same conversation. That was my argument with you, all right? So let me finish. But what I'm saying is, unless the Brooklyn Nets are willing to give up Kyrie Irving and other assets, I don't see the trade happening.
Well, look, if they
Let me respond to that.
Go ahead, Stephen A.
Let me respond to that. First of all, KP, you're right, because they definitely are focused on getting equitable compensation for James Harden. And when you consider what he brings to the table, the question needs to be asked, what does that entail? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, a Karis LeVert, a Spencer Dinwiddie, multiple first-round picks. I mean, it has to be at the very least that. And I don't even know if Tillman Fertitta would allow the trigger to be pulled on that. We have to wait and see. But I'm going to tell you what all 3 of us were remiss in neglecting to bring up initially. KD going to the Golden State Warriors also puts immense pressure on the notion of the big 3 in Brooklyn. Because if KD could go to Golden State and you got Steph Curry and Klay Thomas, the greatest shooting backcourt known to man as far as I'm concerned, they won back-to-back titles, and if KD hadn't been hurt, they'd have won 3, they'd have three-peated, and we all know it. Now you go to Brooklyn, if you're Kyrie and James Harden, excuse me, where do you compare to Steph and Klay? That's going to be the question, because we all know what KD can do when he's healthy. But the reason why KD will be held responsible as well is because he's perceived as being the guy that brought this all together. We know that Brooklyn would not have wanted Kyrie without KD. KD getting there got to bring who he wanted to, which is why they signed Kyrie. Now if you're going to bring James Harden too, if that's able to be pulled off, then those two have to measure up to what Steph and Clay did with KD.
That's a good big picture point, but it's exactly why I say I would give them if they made the finals and lost, and then they have to win a championship while they're together. But it doesn't have to be in the first year. And I'm glad you brought up the Warriors. The difference with KD going to the Warriors, a big difference. He joined a 73-win team that had already won a championship, that had come very close to repeating, right? No, it does, because in order to get KD, they had Clay, they had Steph. In order for Brooklyn to bring in Harden, they're going to have to gut whatever else they have that's not Kyrie, right? Like they have to. Okay, but I'm just saying they're not good. It's not joining a ready-made product that's already basically a champion. It's trying to put it together. It's a little different.
Max, it don't matter. Listen, let me tell you something. All of these guys are 30-plus years old. They're not in their 20s. When LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh joined forces, they were still in their 20s. I believe 27, 28, and 29. James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant, 32, 31, 33 years of age. It's just like when KG, Paul, and Ray joined and formed the Big Three in Boston. They had to win.
Hold on.
They had to win in the first year.
How many did they win all together? How many did they win all together?
That's the question.
Max,
you all over the place. You trying to
what difference would it make if it was in the second year?
You trying to switch the narrative. No. You got to win in the first year. The pressure is on them. It's championship or bust.
You think people are going to remember what if it happened in the first or second year? Ultimately, they just want to know they won a championship together.
The
Big Three in Boston won one.
Don't you remember?
They played more than 1 year.
I know we got to go, Molly.
But Stephen A., hold on, Max. You just said are people going to remember what happened in the first year? You just brought up that you remember that the Miami Heat lost in the first year. So
right,
the answer
but they
is
won championships after. The main thing is they won 2 championships, not what year it occurred.
And they gotta hear about Dallas beating them every single time you bring up LeBron James' name. You bring it up all the time.
Boston got to hear about winning one and not more.
Molly, that's Max. That's Max living in LA a little bit too long. In New York City, if you get those big three and you lose that first year, who's to say they're gonna make it to the second year emotionally?
That's a whole other
New York
point.
City, you crazy?
The Knicks are well.